Hello and welcome to Edo's Catch Up. I'm Will, and I am currently in Melbourne. I am just here for a weekend. I'm going to see the Spider-Verse with the Ben and the Josh. I'm going to see the Ballpark Musics, and I'm just generally going to chill out. So I thought, given the limited time I have this weekend, thought I'd record the catch up on the go. I brought my Zoom recorder with me, and so I'm going to just record moments, and we'll see what kind of podcast we get out of this. I thought I'd just talk about something maybe a little bit personal up top, maybe a little bit serious, if that's okay with you guys. Something I've probably joked about on streams before, but never really gone into, is a bit of my medical history. And I won't go too deep into it, because that's not that exciting, and, you know, I'm definitely not going to be gross about it. But one of the things I have, which is very comical, I understand, it is a condition called FAP. I have FAP. This is a thing called, it stands for I think it stands for familiar abdominal polyposis. Maybe I nailed that for the first time in my life. But it's basically polyps, little things that exist in kind of the bowel and through the throat and different places in the body. These things can kind of turn cancerous, and so every 6 months, get a checkup, get a camera up the butt, down the throat, nice and easy. If you're over a certain age, you should definitely do it. And just in general, it's not scary. For first time, obviously it is a very weird experience, but as someone that has to do it every 6 months, it's a very safe procedure. And if you ever need to have something that is a colonoscopy or a scope or anything like that, rest assured you're in the right hands and everything will be fine. And if you're scared, talk to Will. Talk to Uncle Will. But I've got that thing, a couple of years ago, just before I started Good Games Form Point, I had a surgery which removed the small bowel or large bowel. Again, I forget these things, but either way, a bowel was removed. I think it's the small intestine, or the... I can't remember. They took something out of my body, which meant for a little while I had a thing that's called, kind of a pouch attached to the side of me. That's where I pooped from. Got a little bit gross there, but that's what that was while my body healed, and they had to reattach things that they had unattached when they removed that part of my body. Wild times. Just think. If you watch Good Games Spawn Point in the first couple of years, the only 2 years I did it, the first couple of months, I was pooing on national television. Like, it could have just been happening before your eyes and you would have no idea. That Lego review? Just poop out the side of me. No idea. That only lasts for about 6 or so months, and then they could take that off, reattach everything, and I was kind of sweet. I'm very lucky in that circumstance. I know there's a lot of people around the world that have conditions where they need to keep their colostomy pouches, bags, and for you guys, I like, you have more strength than I could ever have. I struggled. It is a big and often painful thing. So to anyone that has them permanently, I salute you. And to anyone who will need to have them short-term or long-term, if you need someone to talk to again, I'm opening myself up here, but Uncle Will is ready for chats. I say all this because that's my medical history. It's a shared medical history with my mum, who currently, at the time of recording, is in hospital. She's had a surgery which basically removed her stomach, and they replaced it with a pouch. Probably a few other things they pulled out, but a huge surgery. I think it was like 6 hours, which I'm very confused by, because it's like, what do they do? Do they go for lunch? Is there just a section of the surgery where someone watches over your very drugged body? I'm very confused by it. Long surgeries confuse me. I assume they wheel you out and you just go have a rest, but lots of things happen in that anyway. She had that surgery. And it was a huge one. It's going to be a huge recovery, and very similar to the surgery I had, but obviously bigger because the stomach is gone. And so diet and stuff like that's going to be very different. And it's very strange for me. Obviously, I lived out of home for a little while with Josh in Melbourne, and I went months without seeing my family, but I was talking to them. I would video call them. I've not in person seen my mum for a week, and I think that's probably the longest I've gone without seeing at least her face and having like a proper conversation. I've had a few calls, and that is just very strange and a very odd experience, because I don't know. We're getting to morality now. This pod is going to be wild. I swear maybe I shouldn't record podcasts alone ever again. But it's a very strange thing because I've often, thinking about parents, they're not around forever, and just being removed from one of them for such a long period of time, like I can go see her, but she's in ICU, and there's a lot of, there's a lot that happens in those places, and she's like, don't come. And it's a very strange experience, and potentially one that is it's going to be life-changing for both of us, but maybe matures me in a little bit of a way that I wasn't expecting. The downside of it is Dad and I had to start watching Fubar, which is the Arnold Schwarzenegger series on Netflix. It's actually pretty good, and I'll probably talk about it in the rec seg. But it's been lovely being able to spend more time with my dad, because we are a family unit most of the time, and occasionally it's Mum and I that split off. Very, very rarely is it Dad and I, because Dad has a very busy job that doesn't really allow him to have much downtime. It's been nice being able to hang out with my dad a bit more often. I say that I think I've been home for 2 of the nights of the first week, and I'm in Melbourne this weekend. But it's cool. It's cool. I guess my main takeaways from this opening catch-up is to understand that medical problems are a big deal, and that if it is a lot and it is an emotionally taxing thing, you're not alone. If there's anything that, I always reach out and try and find people in a similar experience, because there will be people, and that would be helpful. I had a few people during my surgery, and I think, I joined the FAP group on Facebook. I joined the right one. I did join another one for a little while, and I was like, these aren't images of colons. Well, they are, but I don't want to be here. But I joined the right FAP group. But basically, yes, medical things, and also just, take the time with your loved ones and make the most of it, because, the world is strange, and the way time moves is unpredictable. So, yeah. That was a big catch-up. I guess it's time for news. In terms of news, I just looked up on skynews.com. This is an American one, but a man in South Carolina, by the looks of it, tried to rob a video game store. Now, that's the first thing. It's called a Quick Store. A Quick Stop Store, but it's spelled K-W-Y... Oh, no, it's not. I've had quite a few ciders. K-W-I-K Stop. So it's quick, which is a very clever thing. That's the first interesting piece of this news. But he tried to rob this video game store. He only managed to get $300 out of it, which I think actually says a lot about the state of, sadly, all these video game stores, brick and mortar stores. So if anything, if you want to make sure that David Joseph D'Alessandro, age 25, if you want to make sure that he can rob more money, I'll say, pick up more physical copies of games in stores. He tried to rob the Quick Store. He managed to get $300 off them by gesturing to his trousers that he had a gun. And a little bit of the gun was poking out. It did look like a gun. What it actually turned out to be was a Duck Hunt NES gun. The old Nintendo shooter game. The little blaster that you could get. The police managed to find the guy in a nearby park. So the $300 was returned to the store, thank goodness. I was going to say a moral. There doesn't have to be a moral to news. But I guess the moral to that story is that video games are bad, and you shouldn't let your children play them, because they will lead them to a life of crime. Shall we look at more news? Book returned to library almost 100 years late. History of the United States was due back to a Californian I'm very tired. Californian library on 21st of February 1927. But a mystery man handed it to the library a few days ago to the bemusement of its staff. Now, I haven't looked much further, but that just sounds like someone lost a book. Someone found a book, and then they were like, lol, I'm going to return the book. If there is anything interesting in this news, it'll be a delightful twist in this podcast, and for your sake, I hope there is. It was on loan from St. Helena Public Library with a return date of 21st of February 1927. However, it was handed back only a few days ago, making it a 96-year overdue. The man who returned the book to the front desk shared no details of himself before leaving. However, he owed no money to the library, as it has not used fines since 2019, according to library director Chris Creedon. Had the fine stood, the man would have had to pay $1,756, that's American, following the library's old nickel-a-day penalty. Wow. Inside the library's original note remains intact, saying this book must be kept for 2 weeks, and injuries to the book and to the book's loss must be paid for. Library staff now hope to trace down the man to learn how he came across the book. Oh, there's more. St. Helena Public Library posted this surprising story on its Instagram page. The book, which has tattered pages and a bruised front cover, is displayed in a glass case to prevent further damage. Miss Creedon told the St. Helena Star newspaper it would be cool to put it on display someday, but we haven't figured out how to do that. What? You haven't worked out how to put a book on display? Aren't you a library? I mean, people do it with comic books. That's very strange. Miss Creedon's a bit silly. Library staff believe the book to be one of the original 540 volumes available when the Free Public Library building was inaugurated back in... Okay, that's pretty cool. So it's like 1927. It's an old book. That was published on the 23rd of May, so they may have worked out how to put a book on display by now. We can't be sure. We usually do like 4 pieces of news. We'll do 3. The third piece of news is New Zealand's ratio of sheep to people falls to a record low. In its peak sheep days, New Zealand had 22 sheep for every person. Now, there are just 5. That still seems like a lot of fucking sheep. New Zealand's ratio of sheep to humans has dropped below 5 to 1, the lowest ever recorded. The country of just over 5 million is famous for a few things, among them the All Blacks, Jacinda Ardern, and having more sheep than people. That's still correct. But flocks have been declining since the peak sheep days of 1980s, when there were 22 sheep for every person. In 2022, the national sheep flock tallied 25.3 million, which was a decrease of 400,000 on the previous year. And we've moved on. National sheep numbers were first recorded in the 1850s. This marks the first time the ratio has dropped below 5 to 1 ever, I guess. Australia currently has 3 times as many sheep as New Zealand, though their ratio is only around 3 sheep to every Aussie. Okay, 6-siders in my brain, I'm trying to do the math. Australia currently has 3 times as many sheep, but their ratio is only 3 to every Aussie. I mean, I'm not going to come up with a mathematical equation, but to me that means we have less people but more sheep. You can correct me in the Discord if that's correct. Wait, that's not what I meant. Declining sheep numbers are down to a range of factors, including a shift from wool to synthetic materials and selling farmland for forestry. And that's it. So we're pulling less sheep. Nope, that's definitely not it. We're pulling less wool off sheep. But I thought that was one of the few things that we did that didn't harm the sheep. And it's also more comfortable than synthetics. So that's interesting. It's now less than 5 to 1. Sheep to people in New Zealand, but we, here in Australia, have more sheep. But then, yes. No. Hi everyone, this is Will, who never studied math. Oh, I hope you've enjoyed this podcast. Let's do something else now. I'm about to grab an Uber and meet Josh and Ben to go see Across the Spider-Verse. But first, I'm going to try and stop into a Big W and see if they got a Miles Morales. Because you see, I bought the new Peter B. and Gwen Stacy, thinking I still had my original movie Miles Morales, because I kind of prefer that one. I don't. I sold it. So I have to buy new miles. But hopefully it's there, and then I'll meet up with the boys. 5 different Ubers. None of them arrived. So I've ended up walking. Hopefully it's not too windy. And went to Big W. No dice. No miles. Pain and sadness is all I found. So now I'm headed to see the lads, to eat some food, and to drink some drink. So are you excited to see Across the Spider-Verse, Josh?
I am.
What are you expecting to see? What you didn't hear, listeners, was I moved it to my mouth after speaking. What are we doing?
Getting popcorn.
What? No, we're not.
Seeing movie.
What are you expecting? Ben, we're about to see Across the Spider-Verse. What are you excited to see?
Spider-Man.
Yeah. Wish I'd never brought this thing out.
I'm so shocked.
It's because I don't have time to do the catch-up this week. So I'm just recording bits of audio all weekend. And it'll just turn into a podcast. Cool. It's a clever...
I like that, William. That's a clever idea.
Thank you, Ben. And thank you all. We'll talk to these idiots after the film. So we saw the Spider-Verse. I didn't manage to get a chat with the boys afterwards because we were all very tired. And as you can probably tell, I'm recording this a few days after. I mean, a whole day after, not a few. Because last night, Josh, Max and I went to Ballpark Music, the very, very good band. And I screamed my lyrics out. And I hope Josh didn't, because the poor guy had to sing and play guitar at church this morning. But I just adore that band. That was my 4th time, possibly Josh's 4th time or 3rd time as well. And they're brilliant every single time. It's just fun, nerdy Aussie musicians, and if you haven't listened to any of their songs, I implore that you do. Genuinely, any of their albums are great. There's some weirder ones in there, but if you start with Happiness Surroundings of the... It's one with a bum on the album cover. If you start with that one, I think you'll have a good time. But yes, it's really fun. I mean, maybe I have a little interlude here of me playing one of their songs. Maybe I put that here, so you actually hear like the lyrics, and also just to fill out the podcast a little bit. Go. Boring as batshit, you people make me feel so curious, and I don't know why. So I've just been told that there's a thing called like a DMCA or something that I really thought was like an emo 90s pop band, rock band. Basically, I'm not allowed to play covers, even though it's my voice. So I think that's actually a personal offense. But basically, I can't play what's playing currently because the world hates fun. So, sorry, I'm padding now, just to continue to pad time in this podcast, but, you know, maybe if at some point we might do a fun Josh and Will cover songs thing, exclusive to patrons. If it's not publicly available, apart from the public that we choose, I think that's legal. Pretty sure it's legal. Anyway, sorry I couldn't play this, because I'm definitely not playing it currently. Because I'm not allowed to. It's nice to be alive. Oh, chill out. It's alright. Kiss me. It's nice to be alive. It's nice to be alive. It's nice to be alive. Hopefully that was good. I don't know what this is going to sound like as a structured podcast, but hopefully it's been a fun one. But now I'm going to go grab some lunch with Josh and trek around the city. So hopefully we get some pickups there. Hello and welcome to Cues from Use. I don't know why I said hello and welcome. Oh, there's licensed music over here. Like I need to introduce it. The first cue from me is Zero Gradi, which is near the Crown Casino in Melbourne. It says that the ice cream parlour shuts at 1 a.m. It's currently 12 and it's shut. I was so excited to sit by the water and have an ice cream, but instead I'm sitting ice creamless and alone. Maybe I have to get a McFlurry. That would suck. Sorry, there's a train passing by. Hopefully it all sounds good. But welcome to Cues from Yous. This is where we answer cues from yous. The one question I'm going to be answering here comes from Dolphin Pants, who says, "Help, it's 1:35 a.m. and I need to be at work at 8 a.m. Do you have any sleep tips?" Now, it's actually... Oh, wow, it's not even... What the fuck? Ice cream's supposed to shut at 1. It's 11:15. I'm actually furious. So, you know, it's definitely a lot earlier than Dolphin's conundrum. But he's asking for sleep tips. My biggest sleep tip is music. It comes down to it. Now, obviously the hardest part about playing music is the headphones. If you need to wear them, hopefully if you're living alone or you're far enough away from someone else's room that you can just play music without headphones, that's awesome. That's fix that. Headphones are a bummer because, of course, I mean, most people sleep on their side. You can't do that with headphones. So my go-to is, pulling together a playlist of some hits that will help you go to sleep or to get you to that kind of REM space. Seagull Cameo. And just listen to that music while laying flat. And once you're starting to kind of drift off, chuck your headphones off and go to sleep. What kind of music? That's kind of up to you. I definitely know the songs that kind of make me feel at peace. That's Skeet Ulrich over there just scared the shit out of me. He just flapped down. It was terrifying. Yeah, you freaked the fuck out of me, bud. But yeah, if you know the songs, for a lot of people, myself included, a lot of the time, it's kind of nice, calm score music often does it. So if there's a film that maybe is wholesome to you, like a Ghibli or something, that will chill you out, music is always the go. Now, if you don't really want to have a device that's, you can't really turn off, that might wake you up again, which is fair, which is why I kind of suggest getting yourself to a point and then chucking it away. The other thing that I have in terms of a device is I have an air purifier, which really, it helps with the air in my room, but also is a white noise thing. So if you don't like music, you can always try white noise. Just having a constant noise helps a lot. It seems silly and seems very like a wanky spa treatment, but it actually does work. So if you wanted to, for one bit of advice, an air purifier will hopefully help your breathing situation in your room, but also act as a nice white noise thing that might help you get to sleep. My other suggestion is reading. Of course, reading uses the noggin, so hopefully it doesn't wake you back up. But in a lot of things, if you're kind of in a relaxed position reading, hopefully it'll help you fall asleep. Using the noggin, getting you a bit tired. A good book or a comic. Likewise, I guess that could mean that you could listen to a podcast or something before you go to sleep. But yeah, something that's going to weirdly... the two suggestions are either something that is going to make your brain kind of fall asleep, or something that will activate it and be like kind of strenuous enough that it'll make you tired. And in terms of the stages of getting to sleep, because that's... Go away, Skeet. The big thing is, I think it's like a 3-2-1 method, I think is what they call it. And that's kind of like 3 hours before bed, don't eat. 2 hours before bed, don't drink anything. And 1 hour before bed, don't have any screens. Just so you're gradually, food, obviously, you're not needing to go to the bathroom in that respect, and water. And then just, getting your eyes away from devices to let it kind of chill out and rest. If you don't want any devices, I don't want to purchase anything, the 3-2-1 method is actually kind of the real thing that helps me fall asleep. So give that a go. Hopefully that helped you, Dolphin. I don't know when you submitted that and needed to be up at that time. I think that will be some people this week because the Summer Games Fest kind of kicks off and a lot of that stuff is 3 a.m. But, let me know in the Discord if there's any things that also help you fall asleep. And also, if you can let me know why the fuck my ice creamery is shut when it's still got 2 more hours of operation. Because I refuse to be beaten. I'm going to Walker's, which is... I mean, you can't go to Melbourne without going to Walker's. It's 24 hours donuts. That feels wrong. 24-hour donuts are available. I'm walking to Walker's. Hi, could I get a large hot chocolate and 2 jam donuts as well, thanks? Thank you so much. Cheers. $10.50 for 2 jam donuts and a hot chocolate. It's a large one. It's crazy because in my mind, a hot chocolate is just hot and chocolate. But the man was putting artistry in it. Maybe artistry is too big of a word, but it was like, he wasn't fucking about. He was making a hot chocolate. And I can really respect that. And it makes sense because the amount of work that goes into these I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. I'm sitting by South Bank, by the Yarra, with 2 jam donuts and a large hot chocolate. And I couldn't be happier. It's 11:45. I need to be at the airport at 7:10. I think that gives me enough time. Enough time to enjoy these jam donuts and enjoy my time in Melbourne. I'm sorry that this podcast isn't linear or chronological. It'll happen in whatever order makes sense, but for me, this is the end of my Melbourne journey. For you, it's quite possibly the middle of the podcast. Let's jump into some Rexeg. Let's jump into some cues from you. Let's jump into some news. I don't know what's happening here. I'm gonna have a jam donut. I'm in the car with Joshua. Hey, yeah.
Oh, that was quick. Damn it.
We've had a lovely weekend.
We have.
We've seen Spider-Man into the across that, beyond that one, that thing across that Spider-Verse.
Somewhere. We went somewhere in it.
What'd you think of that movie, Josh? Welcome to the
It was fantastic. It was such a good movie. Like, they stepped it up in every way. Mm-hmm. There was some funky audio issues, which I think has been discussed online a little bit, but man, it was so good. Like,
so freaking good.
There's so many things I've probably missed that I like want to look up or find videos of just to get like a screenshot.
Yeah.
Of like something just to see all the Spider-Man or all the villains or whatever that appear.
Yeah.
But
it's just like, it's such a crazy, that's working. It's such a crazy thing that like, it works. Because the first film is not too self-referential, like it's very its own thing.
Yeah.
Obviously drawing upon Spidey mythos with Peter B. Parker, but everything else is kind of its own thing. Mm-hmm. Whereas this one is so like, it feels circle jerky, but it isn't. Like, it explains everything, I think, enough for anyone to enjoy it. Yeah. I would be intrigued to watch it with, like, parents. Be intrigued to know what they get from it. But, like, at least from people like us and adjacent, our friends, I think we'll get enough having seen anything Spider-Man that it's really cool. Whilst it just introduces the most batshit, like, out of left field characters.
Yeah.
It's very cool. It's very cool.
It's nuts. Like, there's live action references and stuff. It's ridiculous.
Stupid.
It's so crazy.
Yeah.
And like, it seems like nothing is off the table.
Yeah.
When it comes to like
references and stuff.
Yeah, a reference to some Spider-Man thing that has existed in time at some point.
Which means we've got to get Spiders-Man at some point.
Spiders-Man, please! Thousands of spiders that believe that they are Peter Parker as one.
They would animate that so well.
Oh, it'd be terrifying.
It would be disgusting. Like, we showed a still image.
Yeah, it's Max.
She was already like, nah.
Like, I hate that. So funny, man.
Oh, so very good. Anything else that you've been playing Zelda with Ben and making podcasts of that anyway, but...
Yes. What else has been going on? Well, we just watched Renfield.
Oh, that's true. We did.
We did like hours ago.
I actually forgot that happened tonight. We watched Renfield, the Nicolas Cage, Nicholas Hoult film. Surprisingly good.
Bizarrely good. Like, so fun. Such a dumb, fun movie to kind of just switch your brain off.
Yeah.
Like, and just so over the top. The gore was just stupid.
I don't think I've seen people explode in movies.
No.
At least not in a long time.
No, I've never seen a priest explode before.
Yeah, that is a first.
But now I have.
Yeah.
So there you go.
It's interesting because I remember seeing the trailers and I was kind of like, oh, it's in the kind of camp of Violent Nights and John Wick's, but it kind of isn't. It's and Bullet Train and stuff like that. It actually has its own identity in its action. It's not as like slick and tight as those movies. I think it is. It's maybe a little bit more generic, but it is its own thing. It didn't feel like it didn't feel like a vampire movie. A John Wick film with a vampire skin. Like, it was its own thing, which was cool. And Nicolas Cage was great. Like,
phenomenal. Like,
it's one of those ones where you forget that he's an actor until he acts, and you're like, oh yeah.
Yeah. I've talked to Max about it. I'm like, yeah, he's like, you know, like, I think I jokingly, what was it? There was something that came up, and I was trying to get her to guess Nick Cage, and I was like, you know, famously a bad actor. Yeah. And she named a couple of, like, she named like Keanu Reeves and stuff like that. Yeah. And then she was like, oh, Nicolas Cage? I'm like, yeah. She's like, I think he's actually really good and plays exactly what he intends to play in every film. Yeah. And like, yeah, he's over the top, but it's exactly...
It's what he's going for.
What he's trying to do, because all of those movies are often quite silly. Yeah. And I'm like, that's a fair call. Yeah. And freaking nails it in this, because he's terrifying as well. Like, he's... It's not like, oh, that's Nicolas Cage. It's like, holy crap, he's really doing like a pretty scary Nosferatu, essentially.
Yeah. And like unhinged, and which like the Nick Cage-isms come through that. Like, there's sometimes where he's like talking in the accent, and then suddenly he's just like, I'm gonna talk. It's like, oh, there's Nick Cage. Like, he just turns off the accent for a second. Yeah. But that makes him weird and like unpredictable, which is really cool.
It's the unpredictable nature, and like there's shots while people are talking of him, and he's just got like facial expressions that are just so confusing to look at. But it's like, it makes sense within the film. Yeah. But just seeing him like do those reaction facial expressions, it's like, it is terrifying and unhinged and unpredictable. Like exactly the words you said. It was really good.
And it was a surprising, like, again, because I kind of expected it to just be an action movie with a vampire thing going on. Yeah. It's actually a cool narrative. Like, it's a cool like coming of like self-identity before Renfield. Yeah. Which I didn't kind of expect. Like, it's corny as fuck. Yeah. But like it doesn't matter.
It intended to be. That's the point. It's not trying to be something serious and not corny. Yeah. It's exactly what it's trying to do, and it nailed it.
Totally.
Like, really, really well.
Yeah. We got our boy Ben Schwartz.
Oh man, so good. Yeah. So dumb.
It's one of those things that happens so fucking frequently in movies, I feel, that it feels written for us, and like it's probably not as funny as it is. But because of what we've absorbed of that person, it's even funnier. There's just so many, there's just glances. He has one great line, which I won't spoil if you want to see the film. It is like, I think may end up being one of my moments of the year, just for how like fucking well delivered and like cool it is. Yeah. But he doesn't actually have that many funny things to say in the movie. Yeah. But he is just, because he is Ben Schwartz, anything he does is funny.
Yeah, like to us. Yeah. Like, he's just one of the funniest men alive. Yeah. No matter what he does. Yeah. Like, he can say or do anything and we will laugh at it. Yeah. Even if it's serious. Yeah. Like, we're like, what a wacky man. Yeah. You know, like, oh my gosh, he's so good. And like, he is a funny character in this. But there are moments where he's serious, but there's something about that seriousness that is hard to take seriously. Yeah. And he still sort of plays it up. Like, he is over the top
Totally.
as Ben Schwartz is, but it so works for this film. Like, it's such a... Yeah, the whole film doesn't take itself seriously at all. And it's all the better for it. Like,
absolutely recommended. It's not Bullet Train, where I'll be like, I'll die on this hill, you need to see this movie, but it's very fun.
It is, yeah.
Because there was a few reviews that were kind of just like, bit shit. I'm like, no, I don't think anything's bad. I think it's like, there's nothing I would say is bad about it.
Yeah.
Which is cool. It doesn't have to be a 5 out of 5 movie, but it's cool that we're making action comedies that are fun again.
Yeah, I think there's just like, there's nothing to take away from it.
Yeah.
There's no like message really, like there is the, you know, self-identity sort of thing, but at the same time it's like, it's so generic that there's nothing new about this movie to take away or to, you know, that'll change the world. Yeah. But like I said, it's a switch your brain off sort of film, and it's just a bit of fun. Yeah. One thing that I found funny, I was thinking about it later. Renfield is kind of, he feels like, I haven't seen the movie, but he feels like they've just redone like Warm Bodies in a way. Like he's just sort of this trying to figure out what his life is. Like, as I said, I haven't seen the film. Yeah. But he is sort of this like, he's not quite human. Yeah. And he's trying to figure out what he actually is and where his place is in the world. Also,
you might like the vision I have of the character in Warm Bodies looks exactly the same.
Yes. Because he's like pale.
Yeah.
They really paled him up again for this film. Yeah. And then the other funny thing is that Nicolas Cage has done a movie called Vampire's Kiss where he is a vampire. Yeah. And there's like a meme video of him running through the streets, like flapping his wings, flapping his arms, yelling, "I'm a vampire! I'm a vampire!" And it's like, he's now actually done it. Like, he is the vampire in this film. It just feels funny that they've grabbed these characters and made them almost replay themselves in a way. Not that Nicholas Holt's character is a vampire in this, but it's kind of undead. Feels quite, quite reminiscent.
It's super cool, super fun.
Great movie.
And also a big recommend, as always, to just, if ballpark are in town, go see The Fucking Nerds.
Oh my goodness, that show was a shock to the senses in all ways. Like, the lighting was absolutely phenomenal and good. Unfathomable. Like, I've never experienced lighting at a show like that before.
Good. That's so funny, because like the last time you would have seen them, like Enmore and Metro was very basic music show. Yeah. Like they just played. Yeah. And this was like a production.
It was absolutely insane. When you last saw them, you saw them with your parents last year, I think. Yeah. What was...
It was kind of that. It was kind of that. I think that's what they do now,
Yeah, okay, cool.
They produce the shit out of their shows, which is cool.
Yeah. Crazy.
But this is where I'm staying, Josh.
It is.
So, is there any words that you would like to say to the podcast before I leave the car?
Am I allowed to park here?
I don't think so. You can probably go down here, though.
Go down here.
Yeah.
I'll duck in here.
Yeah, nice. So that we don't just get like a massive truck going.
Yeah. Like
that was a lot. You're right. Yeah. I mean, maybe a bit tighter. There you go.
We're good. I've been Josh.
I've been Will. Thank you everybody for listening to this very unique version of the podcast. We'll be back next week with a more normal one. Or maybe not. Maybe every week should be weirder.
Oh, yeah.
We get more abstract.
Get weirder and weirder by Ballpark Music.
We're playing it as the outro. Fuck them. They want us to take it down. They can't do shit. Take it away, Sam Cormack and the other Jen and David. Is there a David? Dean.
There's a Dean.
There's a Dean.
Is there a Dan?
There's a Dan, and I think Paul is the...
Sure.
There you go. Take it away, those guys. For 5 seconds, because that's all we can...
That's all we're allowed to do.
Bye.